Welcome to 𝗱vie in Motion. My name is Diane, and I am the virtual nurse who will guide you through the session. Have you been living with Parkinson's for several years? This may bring some changes in your health and life condition. During this session, you are invited to pay attention to the different signals your body sends you, because it is really in your best interest. This way, you will be able to use different strategies to better deal with the unforeseen events related to the disease. Parkinson's, over the years, brings progressive and observable changes to the body, both in the person living with the disease and in the spouse. For example, in the affected person, transformations may appear during walking, performing a movement, or in other spheres of daily life, such as energy level, sleep, mood. It is important to remember that these changes, called motor and non-motor fluctuations, are not identical from one person to another and vary within the same day. In the spouse, bodily changes are also frequent, but unfortunately too often go unmentioned. It therefore becomes important for you as a couple to recognize the changes that appear subtly at the beginning in order to respect the signals that your body sends you within your strengths and your limits. Couples will accompany you during this session. Let's listen more specifically to what the following couple mentions on this subject.
I've noticed that you have less energy lately, especially in the late afternoon. Do you find that too?
Sadly, yes. I agree with you. I have a harder time walking the dog. It's getting steeper. It's more tiring. Sometimes I am at a standstill as if frozen at the corner of the street, and that upsets me.
You who loved going for a walk with the dog. Perhaps you should mention these changes to the doctor. What do you think?
As mentioned by the couple, a more balanced life had relatively returned to their day-to-day lives. The symptoms of Parkinson's disease were fairly minimal and were well controlled by the medication, except for the occasional fatigue and stress that set in. In the moderate stage, the disease comes back to the fore a little more and brings progressive challenges at the physical, psychological, and social level. The changes are mainly related to Parkinson's itself and to the effect of the medication, which no longer has the same duration of action over time. At this stage, the expected effects of the medication leave room for unpredictability to variations during the day at the motor and non-motor levels. Hence, the feeling of having less control over these newly appeared fluctuations. The fluctuations can be predictable, since the effect of the medication ends before the next dose takes effect. People may experience sluggishness, stiffness, blockage, and even cramps called dystonia. The fluctuations can also be unpredictable, since these signs of slowing down would occur spontaneously without regards to the taking of medication. For some people living with Parkinson's, there may also be the onset of uncoordinated involuntary movement that may affect the legs, arms, and upper body, called dyskinesias. All these fluctuations are called the on-off phenomenon, like a light switch that turns on and off. Along with these so-called motor fluctuations, some non-motor symptoms often accompany the course. I invite you to listen to the stories of couples who have experienced fluctuations and who use different strategies to preserve their quality of life.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was it more difficult for you to get up this morning? You know, you can tell me about it.
Well, for a few days, not all the time, but it seems like I have new symptoms in the morning, cramps in calves and toes when I wake up. It's always in the morning.
Yeah, I may have an idea. If you take your pills when you wake up before you get up rather than after?
So I should think about putting them on the bedside table for the night?
And maybe we could write down some notes somewhere so we don't forget to talk to the doctor about it.
I don't know what's going on. Quite often, I have trouble concentrating. Before, I was able to do several things at the same time. Now, no. I'm becoming more irritated with everything.
I've noticed that you are very tired when you come back from work. I'm giving you some time to rest and cool down when you arrive. Otherwise, you get more irritable, and that's not good.
Yes, I must admit that this is worrying me more and more. I feel less efficient at work, at home. You make me realize that I feel worn out and drained. I'm going to take more breaks during the day. I've got to be able to stop and rest.
Sometimes taking the time to drink, eat, or go for a walk, that can also impact on your concentration and on your energy.
I hadn't thought of it. I'm trying to do everything the same as before. In the end, this is not to my advantage.
We can easily understand that medical visits and maintenance of healthy lifestyle habits to optimize treatments are very useful, along with the regular taking of the prescribed medication by the person living with Parkinson's. A number of healthcare workers tied to your community local services center can also help you, among other things, with mobility and home adjustments. Until now, we have looked more at the impact of Parkinson's on the person affected. However, many spouses report that the changes and challenges associated with Parkinson's disease in their loved one also impact their own health. Discomforts such as insomnia, fatigue, headaches, and back pain, as well as certain difficulties in controlling the symptoms of an illness already present in the spouses, add to their role as care partners. This role becomes clearer over time and becomes more and more present in everyday life. To better communicate the manifestations of Parkinson's and manage them, I invite you to consult the fact sheet about motor and non-motor fluctuations. All of these fluctuations change both of your daily lives. Inevitably, concerns and misunderstandings can arise. For you, who live with Parkinson's, the disease resurfaces in different ways, whether it is fatigue, stiffness in the execution of a movement, or slowness when walking. All of this can cause a lack of enthusiasm and be a barrier to do activities in the house and outside. As a spouse, given the experience that you have with the disease, it invites awareness and understanding of what is happening to both of you. Added to this is the notion of welcoming on a daily basis the impact of disease progressions on your relationship. For example, motor fluctuations in the off period may require additional help. Your reaction will be shaped by your understanding that he or she is not doing it on purpose. This presupposes a capacity of benevolence that each spouse must have for oneself and for the other. If insecurities upset your daily life and cause stress, anxiety, and conflicts, psychological counseling may help and be beneficial for you, either individually or together as a couple. As on a daily basis, there is a reminder that the disease is there and time management must be thought of differently. More specifically, your activities are determined according to the right periods of the day, namely the on periods. In partnership with the doctor, nurse, pharmacist, or other healthcare professionals, you can learn how to optimize your treatment in order to maintain your daily activities and others that are meaningful to you. So, with that in mind, it's not so easy to negotiate. It involves a lot of learning. Perhaps certain personal, spousal, and family activities are already affected by the disease process. The balance between activities and rest should be favored. Above all, do not be discouraged and do not minimize the influence about the modifications of the fragile balance, in particular on your energy, on your sleep, and on your moral. It becomes important to choose the appropriate time to do the right activity. Your family and friends can support you in this disease process too. Many couples consider that isolation is not a solution when you are going through difficult times. Studies and the experience of several couples show that socializing becomes a powerful shield to counter illness, to reduce associated stress, and to prevent isolation. Maybe you are still active on a professional level, but is performing some task becoming more difficult? Would some changes to certain job definitions be possible for you and with your employer to make your life at work easier? There are several alternatives that could be helpful, such as adjusting your environment and your furniture or work tools to reduce fatigue. Then perhaps consider to use the Employee Assistance Program or to discuss it with your employer or to contact Human Resources to request a possible accommodation to reduce work hours or any other solutions. If your search for alternative solutions do not help you enough, reflection may be necessary to allow you to make an informed decision about whether to continue to work. You are also encouraged to consider the financial resources that exist to better support you. So far, we have invited you to recognize the impact of the progression of Parkinson's disease on your daily life and to explore strategies to counter them. In this part, we are going to consider the impact of stress on your body. By better understanding the issues, we can explore together strategies that could be useful to you. When feeling a threat, the brain detects it and triggers the production of stress hormones that give us the energy needed to fight this stress. In turn, these hormones trigger the inner little hamster and generate positive, negative, or neutral thoughts. These thoughts encourage reflection and allow us to see stress in a different way, as a challenge to be overcome. However, if rumination sets in, if brooding, thinking repetitively about a situation, real or imagined, if constantly having negative thoughts, then stress can be destructive. This stress is likely to bring you some distress, among other things, and excessive anxiety and depression, lack of attention and organizations of thoughts. The overuse of stress hormones can easily turn out to be energy-consuming, hence the fatigue that sets in for each and everyone. Let's try to take a closer look at what the disease could cause in terms of stress. 𝗱cie𝗰𝗂𝗺𝗲, a renowned neuroscience researcher who has been studying the effects of stress for several decades, offers us this explanation. When our brain faces one or more characteristics designated by the acronym 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀, it produces a stress response. Here are some characteristics related to Parkinson's and 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀. N for novelty. When you experience new manifestations of the disease, which elicits a stress response and the release of stress hormones. U for unpredictability. When you experience unforeseen events related to motor and non-motor fluctuations. T for threat to the ego. If you observe bodily changes that threaten your self-esteem or your performance in carrying out tasks. S for sense of control. A poor sense of control, which can occur in the presence of a perception of powerless control over your life or your activities. For example, related to motor and non-motor fluctuations. Stopping in the presence of a stressful element and dissecting it with the acronym 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀 will allow you to improve your understanding of each situation and to react to the stress in a more targeted manner. For example, you can ask yourself, what aspects of 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗀 are threatened here? Here is the example of Mrs. Anne and Mr. Alexander.
I'm not feeling well.
What's wrong? Do you want to tell me about it?
All right. Well, when I'm walking the dog, lately, I just have one thing on my mind. Thinking to myself that if I go slower or have difficulty walking, everyone will look at me. Since I froze at the corner of the street the other time, the little hamster has started spinning again.
I understand that when you feel slowed down, you're afraid of what others will think or do.
Yes.
This is new to you. It could happen any time. Are you worried about being in trouble? What would help you? Would it help if I came with you next time? Thinking about it, maybe you could take a few deep abdominal breaths before you leave the house.
Yeah. The breathing exercise, I had kind of put that aside for some time. That could be a good idea. Also, I could do like suggested in the exercise group. Visualize the lines on the sidewalk and step over them to get back on track. And if from time to time you don't mind coming along with me, I'd like that.
In this section, we have considered the impact of stress on the body. If your little inner hamster helps you think things through and overcome challenges, it could mean stress is helpful to you. However, The overuse of stress can leave harmful imprints on your body and mind. Hence, the invitation to learn to listen and thus respect your body and the signals it sends you. In the previous section, I suggested as a strategy that you be on the lookout for what your body is telling you. I now suggest other strategies that may be useful in your situation. Let's start by considering what can be done about motor fluctuations. Medical follow-up is sometimes called upon to become tighter to respond to these new manifestations of the disease. I invite you to prepare your questions and take the time to write them down before each medical visit. In addition, noting the day and night fluctuation in a logbook, such as the 𝗱cie track offered by Parkinson Quebec, could help your health team better to adapt your treatment, promote your comfort, and improve your quality of life. Other means also exist to promote optimal taking of the medication. Of course, this starts with knowing the desired effects and adverse effects of the medication, as well as good communication with your pharmacist. He can also advise you on the products that exist on the market to manage the taking of medication, such as electronic pill dispensers, among other things. There are also watches or cell phone applications that allow you to program several alarms, thus making your life easier. When it comes to apps, some basic advice applies. For example, find out about the origin of the application, whether or not it is free, about its quality, and about the confidentiality of your data. It is often very helpful to think about how you might make adjustments to better manage your energy and reduce your fatigue. Let's see how the following couple explore the ways to improve their energy levels throughout the day.
You know, I'm starting to have less enthusiasm in the morning.
I woke you up again last night. I was struggling in my dream and I woke you up. I'm really sorry.
If we're both tired, we won't be any further ahead. The energy will not always be there if we continue like this.
Maybe we should think about how to rearrange the room. Perhaps have 2 beds?
Maybe. Shall we think about it and talk about it again?
As a couple, a better understanding of your life experience, including the fluctuations, the balance between activity and rest, and time management, can also help you cope better daily with the twists and turns of the disease. Here are some other basic strategies for keeping a balance between activity and rest, respecting each person's strengths and limitation. First and foremost, to deal with your energy level, you must be able to recognize the intensity of your fatigue. When the light is green, everything is fine to do an activity. If the light is yellow, plan to slow down. At the red light, we stop the activity and rest. To carry out activities without exhausting yourself, practical tips are proposed by experts from the Institute of Rehabilitation in Physical Deficiency of Quebec. In their advice sheets, these experts recommend: divide an activity into several stages and over time. For example, cleaning the room in several stages. Vacuuming first, dusting second, office cleaning third. The latter can also be split up, such as cleaning 3 drawers at once. Modifying your posture, if necessary. For example, remain seated rather than standing, or sit for a few minutes if the activity is standing. Schedule and take healthy breaks. Alternate your activities. Do a more energy-intensive activity with another that consumes less energy, or an activity that gives you pleasure, such as a creative, manual, artistic, or nature activity. Reduce the speed at which the activity is performed. Know how to recognize unnecessary energy expenditure. Prioritize the activities to be done and those which can be postponed or delegated or which can be eliminated. Now, let's listen to an exchange I had with Mrs. Anne and Mr. Alexander to promote better sleep management.
My wife and I decided to buy another bed. As we have a large bedroom, we put the 2 beds there. She can sleep better without me waking her up with me flailing in my sleep or kicking in my sometimes restless dreams.
I think it was about time. I sleep better and feel more rested in the morning. It doesn't prevent us from meeting in the same bed if we want to.
How did you come to this decision?
We thought about it beforehand, and we talked a lot about it. At some point, I think sleep is important for everyone to recharge. Above all, our energy to do some other things.
I understand your thought process. You know, one day, if sleep is not quite restorative, it is also possible to take a short nap of about 20 minutes before 3 p.m. so as not to alter sleep at night.
It's true.
May I make some suggestions?
Yes.
Bedtime ritual and peaceful activities before going to sleep are often helpful. Some people in your situation have already told me that the temperature of the room makes a big difference, and also the bed sheets. Bed sheets, those that are not too warm, in which you have no difficulty turning and repositioning in bed, and also easier to change.
We hadn't thought about the bed sheets. We're going to spend on new and more suitable ones.
In this exchange, the couple explored different ways to access a certain comfort and a better quality of sleep. The couple will choose first a solution that suits them best and explore other ways according to their preferences, if necessary. The important thing is not to get stuck in a situation for which tips and tricks exist to make your life easier. Let's now look at what might help you ease your daily level of stress. Let's go find 4 couples who are discussing different ways they're taking a stress break. I invite you to take a break from stress. As 𝗀𝗎 mentioned, resting from stress also means giving the brain and body a chance to decrease their response to stress. As a couple, you could benefit from this break from stress, and thus you can give yourself this chance to develop your self-confidence and give you some control over the course of the illness, over your life. Let's meet 4 couples who discuss different ways they use to take a break from stress. Thanks to all of you for accepting this invitation to share your ways and tips for taking a break from stress. I wish I knew what really helps you. I'll let one of you speak. Who Who wants to start?
We like to exercise. We like to move. My wife likes to do her yoga alone. Personally, I like doing things in a group. I take 𝗱cie classes. It keeps me fit and relaxes me. Every once in a while, we put on a CD and we dance together in the living room.
It's fun. We always loved ballroom dancing. Even with Parkinson's, we continue to dance as often as possible. Our goal is not to register for contests, but I think we're still pretty good.
On our part, my spouse also likes to move and to have a good laugh. Occasionally, I like to tease her. We also watch comedy shows. It relaxes us. What I like, for me, is to take the time to meditate every day. You know, to be in the here and now. During this time, I feel less anxious and stop worrying about everything.
And when we meditate, we also focus on our breathing. My spouse and I, we do breathing sessions every day. We also like music. We listen to it often, and even sometimes sing along with karaoke. It's entertaining, and we're having fun.
I would like to add that sometimes, for a few weeks, I offer my help to students in need of academic support as a cyberprof. It's stimulating, and this way, I make myself useful. Also, together, we go to our neighborhood community garden to tend our own raised garden bed. What a pleasure when comes harvest time.
It's a nice contact with nature. We have this contact by going for a walk. For my husband, it's important to talk with the dog, to pet him, to go for a walk with him.
It's important for you too. You really like this dog. I'd also like to share with you what's helping me a lot these days. When I'm becoming more anxious, I prolong the exhale breathing with my abdominal breathing, and it works. I feel better afterwards, as it modifies my blood pressure, thus my heart rate. Now I'm glad to greet people I meet while going for a walk.
As I'm listening to you, I find your words very inspiring. You brought up some good points. I remember some important words in your comments like move, breathe, balance, surround yourself, and to have pleasure.
Good summary.
I think all of this gives us back control over our lives.
Yes, and we're learning to listen and to respect our body energy level for things that matter, to treat energy as savings in a bank account.
Thanks to all. I truly appreciate that you're taking the time to share. I also suggest that you look on the Parkinson Quebec website and click on the tab under Inspirational Testimonials. Among other things, you will see 𝗀𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲's video. She explains how she faces the challenges of the disease with the help of her spouse and how she takes a break from stress in her own way. I invite you to consult the fact sheet about various tips to take a break from stress. There, you will find a summary of the ways shared by the couples as well as other suggestions that may be of interest to you. Throughout the sessions, you were made aware of the importance of observing and of recognizing the physical, psychological, and social changes relating to the evolution of Parkinson's disease on both of you. On a daily basis, certain adaptive and benevolent abilities for oneself and for one's spouse are called upon to promote maximum comfort and well-being. In addition, Continuing to have life plans and socializing can contribute to a better quality of life. I also invite you to listen and respect your body to differentiate between the manifestations of stress that are helpful, those that encourage you to take up challenges, and those that harm the body and mind. A first winning strategy to deal with the unexpected. Other strategies that may be useful in your situation include how to properly plan medical visits, how to promote the optimal intake of medication to help you with motor fluctuations, how to balance activities and rest to maintain and even improve your energy level. On the other hand, an invitation to take a break from stress has also been offered to you. This is an opportunity to have fun, trust yourself, and regain some control over your life. I encourage you to put into practice the strategies proposed during this session. You will be able to assess whether these strategies benefit you in order to make your daily life easier.